Thank you, Danny. I found out quite by surprise this week that a dear friend of ours had passed away. Hadn't heard that he's been sick or in difficulty. Sometimes when you move to a different location and you're involved in a different ministry, you lose connections. Sad to hear this communicated with his wife, another dear and sweet friend. So many things flash before my mind of times that I've been in their homes, but also other milestones in their life. Maybe it seems a little morbid as a pastor. Maybe that's what pastors think of. I do think not entirely sad times, but I do remember that I preached his dad's funeral and his mom's funeral. I was a pastor at the church when they both died. And then his wife, my friend, I preached her mother's funeral, her father's funeral. And then their oldest son got married, and I officiated at their wedding. And it was a beautiful wedding. It was outside, beautiful bride, handsome groom, and just idyllic fairy tale kind of a wedding. And then they had another son, and when it came time for him to be married, they had to do that ceremony as well. So all those wonderful, memorable times. Many other things flood my heart and mind, thinking, remembering, but still they overcome the sadness. Last thing I said to Paulette was maybe, you know what we do here in the South, you have Donnie, or Big Donnie and Little Donnie. You can be in a situation where you kind of get called out. I'm going to give y'all have Peter Little, older dude. But I hope when Donnie got together that Little Donnie met him at the gate. His son died just last year as a result of a lingering problem from being in an accident. I guess the things that I remember most is that things that made the deepest impression on me, not only ministerially but personally, are the holes I've been in, holes I've stepped off into, and then sometimes I found myself in holes and I know good and well God put me there. That's confusing. Sometimes I get mad. And I don't always understand. As I look back over the road of my life, kind of wish it was a straight line and not a waving path. By the way, something that someone told me to read many years ago. There was a preacher in New England when in the 13th colony named John Bain. And he was in prison, kind of for being a Baptist. I think all Baptists ought to be locked up. While he was in prison, he wrote a book, which was an allegory. It was called Pilgrim's Progress. It's a story about a man who's going on a trip. He's going to the heavenly city. Really, it's a story about the Christian life. His name, as a matter of fact, is Christian. As a man named Evangelist comes to him and tells him about Jesus. Read that story, if you would. It's a little bit difficult. It's from many years ago, and it's not really not modern style. But read Pilgrim's Progress by John Bain. Just about as soon as he leaves the evangelist, he's so happy that he's seen the light. He's on the road, and you know what he does? He falls in what the Bunyan called the slough, S-L-O-U-G-H, the slough of despond. It's a hole in the road. It's a ditch. It's a pit. And it's sticky and muddy and miry. That's the first thing that happens. He's happy. He's gloriously saved. He's on his way to the city of lights. And he winds up in the slough of despond. He was watching where he was going. He was being very intentional. He was very happy. And there he is all of a sudden. And so, yes, may sound like familiar territory. You've been falling in a hole, you've been in the slough of despair or the slough of despond. It happens. You kind of think it'd be, oh, it's going to be smooth sailing now. Well, it's just not. It's not. If the wind wasn't blowing, the sails wouldn't fill. Sometimes it's the storm that gets us farther away from the shore, out away from the shallows. Well, our birthdays in June, we've looked at some of these. Next week, Avery's birthday. Avery Victoria. Well, that's hard to believe. We were in Sunday school this morning talking with Addison, and the others haven't noticed it, but all the pictures I have of grandkids in my study is Addison. I purposefully, intentionally told Avery last Sunday that she was my favorite, and I love her more than any other. She just smiled and glowed, though. The other two just looked at me like, that's not true. We're proud of Avery having a birthday. I couldn't put this. 11 years old. Our Christmas box items, toys, matchbox cards, Happy Meal, small bouncy balls, super balls, we call them. I don't think they call them that anymore. But happy birthday to these people. It will soon be July. Now, let's go on further. I appreciate Carter and Andy when they work the board for me. You don't have to listen, but they kind of have to listen or it gets embarrassing. This is part of our newsletter that I send out. Some of these links are active, but that actually is Avery. They're pointing for a sign. That's from last year, and I'm saying today. And so these things are available. If you see these on my Facebook page, put them on your page or scatter them around, share them about, invite people to come. And there's the registration right there. Danny asked a good question this week. He was going to register in Bible school. He says, if I've got that QR code on my phone, how do I scan it with my phone? Okay, well, yeah, you can't do that. You can scan it from your computer, or if it's on a tablet, you can scan it. So I put a link there now so you can, and he's all registered up. He's signed up for Bible school. That's on the 19th of July from 9 o'clock in the morning to 1 p.m. We have been having a one-day school even back before COVID began. Magnify. Oh, magnify the Lord with me. Let us exalt his name together. Magnify the Lord with me. When we magnify things, sometimes we're looking at small things, we want to make them bigger. In order to magnify God, all we have to do is really see him as he is. It's already here. All right, let's go on. Pray for Vacation Bible School. Be involved. Come here and join in with us. Now, for the last 3 years, this young lady right here has been watching our nursery age children. Her name is Julia Warren. Did you ever get to meet Julia? Right in there. She played with our kids and watched them, take care of them. She graduated from college this year. And this fall, she's going to start teaching the first grade at Julian Harris Elementary School. And that's pretty wild. Pretty wild. And for her to be a babysitter, I could make that jump. All grown up. But now she's going to be Miss Workman. She's a first grade teacher. Of course, we all know that the most important part of starting that is making sure that the walls in your classroom are the right color. Everything else, who cares? There's Julia. You're on Facebook, go to her Facebook page. So congratulations. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, she's not going to be able to help us this Vacation Bible School. So, but anyway, all things happen. She is Miss Portman now. All right, let's go on. Congratulations to Julia. I'm going to kind of take an old saying and I'm going to apply it using this term here because I believe it's true. It's talking about crisis, calamity. And it goes like this. Right now, you're either in a pit, or you just got out of the pit, or you're headed toward the pit. You know what I would call that? That's the pit. I'm sorry. Pits. Back in 2007, I had a wonderful privilege to go to Israel. And I went with 25 or 30 other Christian pilgrims. And we went to a number of places. One of the first places we stayed was in Cairo, Egypt. We went to see the pyramids of the Giza Plateau and the Sphinx. It was wonderful. A lot of my friends rode camels. I didn't have any desire to ride camels. Addison will tell you that, according to Larry Little, I am a camel. What are you? You're a parrot. Anybody else know what you are? Either a lion, a parrot, a turtle, or a camel. I'm going to tell you, I may have already told you this, Addison. I don't know if you've changed it just to be more politically correct or keep them hurting your feelings. You know what a parrot used to be? It used to be a monkey. I'm sorry. Yeah. It used to be a monkey. It's like, I want to be a monkey. Parrot. So we went from Egypt over into Jordan. We went from there, we went to the stone city of Petra. If you've ever watched Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, the last part of that movie was shot at Petra. Sean Connery, you know, and was in that movie. He played Indiana Jones' father. Petra. It's not mentioned in the Bible, but it's the people who built Petra are mentioned in the Bible. The Edomites. When we went from Petra, we were going to head to the mountain where Moses supposedly, Mount Nebo, where Moses probably died and Satan fought for his body. Mount Nebo, there's a huge statue of a brazen serpent there. Remember, God cursed the people and he sent poisonous snakes out to bite them. And he told Moses to put a brass serpent on a rod and lift it up. And whoever saw that brass serpent, when they looked up at it, they would be cured from the poison. Jesus said, referred to that in John 3, he said, just like that, Moses lifted up that serpent. He says, the Son of Man is going to have to be lifted up, and whoever shall look shall live. Linda might be able to take away the group. There was a group that used to sing this song, I think one of their singing songs, Look and Live. Look and live, my brother, live. Does that ring a bell? That's all I've got, but I can't remember any other. When we went to Jordan, we've been drinking bottled water and boiling water and being careful what we ate and what we couldn't eat. When we got to Jordan, we got to Amman, Jordan, the capital of Jordan. And they said, oh, we're staying in a nice 6-star hotel. And it's just like being in America. You can actually open your mouth while you're in the shower and you can drink water when you're brushing your teeth. Well, that's not true. That's not true. I got sick. I should have known better. I've done a lot of world traveling even before that. I should have known not to do that. And I thought I'd just brush I should. You're supposed to use bottled water, put it on your toothbrush, and put that water in. I didn't drink it. I didn't actually drink it. I knew that would be good, but I rinsed off my toothbrush and that was enough. I got sick. And I was in Israel. Terry was sick last night. I don't think I was any help at all. In fact, I'm pretty sure I was. I'm not very much help if she's sick. I've been some help when other people are sick, but she's like, not so much. She's always very helpful, very kind to me whenever I'm sick. And I don't take it. I'm not very manly, not very masculine. Except a little sniffle when I get sick. And I got sick. And I was going to head into Israel, and I got sicker as the day went by. And I was just having to drag myself around. 2007, I was in a lot better shape, a lot younger back then, stronger, a little more athletic than I am now. And actually, we pulled up at a place, and I didn't really know where we were at or what we were doing. And I was sitting in the back of the bus, and I sat down, I had my head in my hand. I didn't feel like I was in the Holy Land. I felt so bad. I felt so bad. And there was a young man that I had become fond of him. He was a young father, he was a young deacon in the church, very enthusiastic. Everybody else was off and took to head into this place, and I was in it, the Mercedes-Benz tour trailer, so it's just glorious, unbelievable. I mean, what is like a area of God? It's cool and it's nice and shady and quiet. Everybody's going to leave, and I feel so bad. And I saw him walking down the aisle of the bus. He was coming obviously to me. Hope he gets feeling better. That I can, okay. He didn't have any of that. He didn't say anything that I had been expecting. Presumptuously. He said, Brother John, I know you don't feel good. I know you're really sick. And someone told me that you're not going to get off the bus. But I came back here to say, I've been here before. I know you feel bad. But I think you ought to come. I think you ought to come. I think if you don't come, if you don't get off the bus at this stop, regardless of whatever else you see during our trip, you're going to be sorry if you didn't get off the bus. Police officer. It kind of reminded me of Jonathan a little bit. He kind of looked like he'd been sawed off the knee or something, just all shoulder and torso, and it looked like somebody could wrestle him to the ground. Handcuffs on him. He had such a sweet heart. So, you kind of think he's a spiritual person. I say, okay, Lord, I'm going to do this for you. But I said, Lord, I've already made up my mind. I wasn't going to do this for you, Lord. But I'm going to do it for this young man. Okay. Help me get up. Help me get up. We were, let's look at that next slide there first. We were at the house of Caiaphas. There it is. Now, Caiaphas' house didn't look like that. But this is a Roman Catholic church that's been built where Caiaphas had been the high priest when Jesus was born. At the time of Jesus' crucifixion, his son-in-law, Annas, was the high priest. This is the evidence of the deep state. When they arrested Jesus that night that he was arrested after the Last Supper, they didn't take him to Annas' house. They took him to Caiaphas' house. He's arrested. Tied his hands up, took him from the Mount of Olives, and the Garden of Gethsemane, took him to the house of Caiaphas. And inside that cathedral, they kind of left places. These stones, this divider right here, this is the part of Caiaphas' actual house. It's a palace. I didn't like Caiaphas. I didn't want to go to Caiaphas' house. If Caiaphas had come to, hey, come on, we're going to have some ribs and dog, you love me? I said, oh no, man, I don't like you. I don't want to go to your party. So I felt like this is a good place to stay on the bus. I remember having read about Jesus being taken from the Mount of Olives here. And he was questioned. He was grilled that night and mistreated. They slapped him about a bit. Caiaphas interrogated him in front of everybody. And all the members of the Sanhedrin were here, and they all said he should die for blasphemy. Where Jesus went that night outside. What I just said right now is about everything I knew about Caiaphas and I didn't know anything about his house. I didn't know very much about that night when Jesus was dragged there tied. Go to the next slide there, Carter. Then, as I got on the bus, first thing I saw was right on the very top. Right on the crest, there's a weather vane up there, and it's a rooster. And then something kind of went off in my brain. I said, oh, this is where they had the fire outside in Peter, and these people around there warming their hands and their backside. And this is where someone asked Peter if he wasn't with the Galilean. Was that Jesus' son? This is where Jesus was taken, and this is where Peter denied Jesus 3 times. Then a rooster crowed. Last Friday night. Phil usually brings the last message of the conference. But he closed us out Friday night. And I saw a look up there at Phil, and he had a couple of guys bringing out a great old big rooster. Mounted rooster. What's really amazing to me is got a rooster there, and he's going to preach about this rooster is the story of Jesus being denied by Simon Peter. I'd kind of like to have been along with Phil when he was going around town asking for people where he could find one. You got any stuffed roosters? What do you want to stuff them with? Stuffing and celery? No. Mounted? No. Like a trophy. No. Anyway, he had one, and they had a big cock-a-doodle-doo sound come out of the loudspeaker, and he preached it. Great message. Great message. About listening to roosters. So, that rooster is even higher than the frog. And that's important. We're going to look at the next slide there, Carter. This is a brass or a bronze statue. It's got a Roman soldier, and it's got Simon Peter, and it's got a couple of people there for fire there. There's a pedestal that stands behind them, and up on top of that pedestal is a rooster. And that's right there in the courtyard at Caiaphas' house. It's important. Peter cursed, he swore and said, I don't know him. I don't know him. That happened here. Well, Peter was in a fold. Let's go on. When you walk into the main cathedral at the house of Caiaphas, it's the church that is things kind of stand out. And where they have church there, you sit down. Right up there in front, there's this kind of a portico banister. The walls are made of clear glass. And then you can go up the wall to that clear glass and you look down in there and there's a hole in the floor. And first of all, it reminded me of being over my aunt's house when I was a little boy. She didn't have a well. I don't know if you ever lived in a house where they had a well. Actually, it's got a little well that has a roof on it. Pull it, really an old open bucket. You lower it down with the rope, pull it up the water, bring it up. And that's how they got water out of the well to the house. It looked like a well to me. And they say, well, it used to be a cistern, and that's what a well is. That's what a cistern is. But there's evidence that it had been dry long before Jesus' time. It's a dry well. In the middle, and it wasn't church there when the house was at, in the middle of his living room. And you could actually, it's just a well, and they had dug a path to the bottom of the well and stair step. You could actually go down there. And here's a bunch of people. They're standing in the bottom of that well, and they're looking up through a hole over there at the top, and they're looking up from the stairs over here. And there are lights, and there's a hole that you saw when you were up in the chapel. They said there are chains down there and manacles, cuffs. It's evident that they used it as a jail, a dungeon. One part of it, they had to fit it in two parts. As far as the cistern, it used to just be a well. Now listen, there were thousands of people that followed Jesus everywhere he went. He was a high security grid. And so after they got through interrogating him, beating him, pushing him about, spitting on him, they probably put a rope around his wrists that were already tied together, and they lowered him down into that pit so he could run off. Or his disciples couldn't rescue him. And now, when you go there, you can go here, and you can go down into that well. Next slide there, Carter. My friend, who had dragged me down there, had been asked to read the scriptures in prayer. We were going to have a very brief little devotional service down there at the bottom of that well. And so he was asked to read, and this is where he read from. He read the whole psalm. I'm just going to read part of it. Psalm 40, verses 26. This is Psalm of David. I waited patiently for the Lord, and he listened to me and heard my cry. He heard me and brought me up out of a horrible pit. You know what the shepherd's psalm is? That's the 23rd psalm. The psalm of the cross is Psalm 22. This is the psalm, Psalm 40, is the psalm of the pit. I desperately encourage you to read it yourself, all of it. He brought me up out of a horrible pit, out of miry clay, and set my feet upon a rock, and established my path. He put a new song in my mouth, even praise to our God. Many shall see it and fear, and shall trust in the Lord. Blessed is the man that makes the Lord his trust, and does not respect the proud or those that turn aside to lie. Let's go on further with it. Many, O Lord my God, are your wonderful works which you've done, and your thoughts which are aimed at us. They cannot be added up in order to you. Even if I try to announce them, they are more than 10 numbers. Sacrifice and offering you do not desire. You know, the first thing we think of, well, Lord, I'm going to be more faithful. I'm going to read my Bible more. I'm going to pray more. I'm going to do more stuff for you. The sacrifice and offering you do not desire. You have opened my ears. You have not required a burnt offering or a sin offering. When we're trying to get out of a pit, or we're trying to get back to God, when we're trying to get our feet up underneath us, when we're trying to recover the ground we've lost, we feel like that what God wants is for us to be more and more and more religious, and He just doesn't. He doesn't want us to be more spiritual. He doesn't want us to start being a better Christian. Well, those are all things that we are offering Him. We're doing these things and say, here, I've done this for you. I participated in this. I became that. I re-added this back to my life, or I put this in my life that was never there before, and got to get. You did all this stuff. This is not about you doing anything for me. Get that next slide there, Carter. Showed you the rooster. And I showed you the statue of the denial. This statue is right at the top of the stairs. You have to go down to the basement, kind of below ground level. And then you go to the stairs that will take you down into the pit. This is not described in the Scripture. It's not talked about in the Bible, but we do know that Jesus was led to this place hand-tied. And so there's a script on this front. You can't see it in this slide. It's in Latin. It says, Servus Domini. It means the servant of the Lord. When they probably just wrapped a rope that they had there for the purpose. And they lowered Jesus down into there. It's a long way. Probably about 30, 40 feet down to the bottom of the well. And there weren't any stairs there. There wasn't any devotion rooms, no light. It was dark and damp. Muddy. He was all alone. I doubt if they offered him a drink of water. There wasn't anything to drink when he got down there. One thing that Jesus said was when he was on the cross, he said, I'm thirsty. He hadn't had a drink in a long time. He probably was in shock. And if he had to go to the bathroom, wasn't any place anyway to do that. And yet, the need is still there. Or hit that maybe indeed the last slide, and it is, have that thought in your mind. I remember standing there, and we kind of had our backs to the wall. About 20 of us could fit in the bottom of the pit there. When it came down to that cylinder, that hole, then they chiseled away and kind of made it into a permanent place. When they just lowered Jesus down there, it was just the bottom of a dry well. And they kept that rope tied so that it wouldn't haul him up. The next morning when the sun came up, they were going to take him to the Father. All was justice. Now, I remember standing there with my back to the wall. I still felt really bad. Felt really weak, sick. I believe my skin was probably white as a ghost. And I remember thinking, I didn't know this. I didn't know this. In all that I know, and all that I've studied, and all that I've preached, and all that I've taught, I never knew this. It never entered my mind. I should have. Should have thought. What did they do? It doesn't say they questioned him all night long. They put him somewhere. I had this image in my mind of Jesus coming down to the earth. And there he was, a little baby born in Bethlehem. And I thought of him walking all the streets of Nazareth and Galilee and Judea, Jerusalem. Jesus didn't just come to earth. He went down in that pit. The disciples had taken him. Still reminds us last Friday night that when Peter denied Jesus that third time, he heard the cock crow, and he looked up, he looked across the way there. You know what he saw? He saw Jesus. And all those people, all those hundreds of people that were clambering around there with their torches and their camping and their riding, there was nobody else in the entire world except Peter sitting there in his denial and seeing Jesus with his hands up. And their eyes met. And Jesus heard Peter. He knew he was going to deny him. He had already told Peter. So he wasn't disappointed. He wasn't surprised. The Lord is never surprised when you and I mess up. I was thinking two things. I knew you came, but I didn't know you came all the way down here. The second thing I thought was, I'm glad I came. Would you like me to tell you that suddenly and miraculously I felt so much better? I didn't. I was glad I came. I was glad to be there. I want to tell you what. Started not to go on that trip. I was just beginning to come out of the darkest time in my entire life. I had resigned my pastorate. I had thrown in the towel. I had quit preaching. I turned my back on everything. I didn't turn my back on the Lord. I didn't forsake the Lord, and I didn't stop talking. As a matter of fact, I was talking to him a lot more then in a raised voice. I did a lot of shouting, not that kind. Maybe yelling at the. And I was in the darkest, deepest, coldest hole I'd ever been in my entire life. But I hadn't been that low. I hadn't been that low. I hadn't been that low. And I wasn't that far down. And Jesus was saying to me, I know what it feels like. I know what it's like. I think eventually, if not initially, everybody that was with us there on that first trip in 2007 knew my story or part of it, and none of us would be horrified. Or at least have pity. The next year I decided, someone paid my way. I went free. I went free. They let somebody take my way. My friend paid my way to everything else. So I decided I'm going to go back and I'm going to take the Spirit and take my life. I had to pay for her and me. Different level of appreciation. We pulled up after it seemed like 100 stops or 200 stops, and she said, "Where are we at today?" I said, "Babe, this is the house of God. And I want you to see how far you can, how low we got, how deep the hole was that he was in." They had asked me to deliver the devotion, and so I did in the kids. I read from Psalm 40, the Song of the Pit, and I sang a song. The song, it says, talks about Jesus telling me how much he loves me. He says, from one scarred hand to the other. From one scarred hand to the other. It might be a pit. Maybe a good place for you to be. Never go over. Might learn some things. I hate learning things. You might be a better person after. I believe that. But it's hard. And it's not the only pit you've ever been in before, probably. It's not the deepest, darkest pit that you're probably going to be in at some time. Wherever you are, however dark it is, he's been farther. He's been deeper and darker. He's been more sorely forsaken and betrayed than you ever have been. He did it for you and me. He didn't give up. He didn't quit. You know, we got enemies in the world. We can just fly planes over them and just bomb them out of existence. Jesus Christ could have vaporized this entire world. And if I was him, I would have done it. I guarantee you. I promise you, I would have done it. If I was Jesus, and I was there, and I said, we're going to lower you down to the bottom of this pit, on still, I'd say, no, this is enough. This right here is enough. This is more than enough. Now, this has gone on long enough. And I'd burn everything down. I'd burn everything down to nothing. That's what I would do. He didn't do that. Lord Jesus, thank you for your grace and your goodness. It's beyond measure. I don't know if I'm at the place in my life where I can thank you for the pit. Or that other pit, or that other pit. Pits to come. I believe that there may be someone here today, maybe someone just listening to my voice, someone sitting in this place, that they're in the dark. And regardless of how many loving family members or friends may be around them, they feel abandoned and alone, and neglected and betrayed. I pray that you touch them and move them. And take them like you took me to a place where we can see your grace, even when we're that far down. Lord, I ask this in your name. Amen. So, Danny, what's our hymn of invitation today? Hymn number 413. Number 413. Let's stand together as God given you respond to his voice. You don't have to respond to my voice or my message. I'm not asking you to do something religious or even something spiritual. But let God touch you and move you. Let him speak to your heart as we sing today. Oh, soul, are you weary and troubled? Oh, light in the darkness you see. There's light for a look at the state, and light for a wonder and free. Turn your eyes on Jesus. Look forward in his wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely new in the light of his glory and praise. It's always more important that you speak to the Lord than you speak to a preacher or a teacher or evangelist or even a mentor or family member or a friend that you love. Talk to those people. God placed those people in your life too. If I can be of help to you, if I can pray with you, pray for you. The invitation is always open. Anything we forgot to do or say today, anything we can overlook or that I trampled on inadvertently, anything, please don't ever walk up to me and pardon myself. You know, preacher, you forgot? You forgot this. Help me now. And when we can catch it, I make mistakes all the time. Right there, I appreciate it. Do what? 2 nurses, fried chicken, and some mashed potatoes, macaroni and cheese. I know that would help them feel a lot better. God bless you all. Go out into the sunshine. Yes, ma'am.
Our family, their Bible study starts tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, and everyone is there.
Who is it again?
Our family.
The Ark. Okay, all right. Okay.